Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and today's topic is on organization. And share the screen here. We're going on getting organized, and it's kind of an ongoing thing. This is two of three. So, looking here at again a verse from the Gita, that says, one's overall need of mankind is meaning and purpose. Self-knowledge and self-evaluation leads to the understanding of the mystery of you. Each soul achieves his own ultimate success. How do we do that? By putting forth his own best effort, effortlessly. So to do the best that we can, but at the same time, don't make a big struggle out of it. So here is the early bird gets the worm. Well, I don't know about that because, what is the ratio of birds and worms and which one gets what? And even if it's late in the day, can maybe there still be a worm for the late bird? So it's looking at the fact that everything we look at in our little talk on Mondays is suggestions and guidelines. They're not recipes or formulas. And looking at the fact that we need to gently self-evaluate our end of the day satisfaction with everything that we do. So here is a quote from Aristotle that I shared with Sharon earlier and want to share with all of you now. It says, all men by nature seek to know. This desire can never be eradicated. And while we might dim its flame by not fueling it, we can never snuff it out. When things look dark, the love of learning may burn brighter than ever. What it needs is the right environment. And of course, we can set that right environment in our own life and in our own work. So it's looking at the time-space continuum, sunrise, sunset, that life just goes on and on, that we have 3 meals a day. We get up and we have the day, and then we have rest at night, that there's planting and weeding and harvesting and canning. And yet, as much as we accomplish, there's always more to do, because it is always that continuum. And as much as we know, there is always more to learn. But I suggest 3 really important things, really primary things in organizing and being successful. And one is to choose your attitude, because it is a choice. Many actions are taken the same, whether it's for work or whether it's for play. But what makes maybe one a chore and one a joy? It has to do with our attitude. So whether it is work, we can have a playful attitude at work, but still very serious, or whether it is actually the chore. So it's choosing our attitude. Another is not being competitive or compete only with yourself, realizing that you've done an okay job, but it can always be improved upon. And then also identifying what is the most important and going for the most important, as opposed to what may be giving the most noise to. So in planning and scheduling, I think we touched on this the other day, but planning, of course, is what to do. So it's looking at how many supplies we have. And the more we have all of these things together and ready before starting a project, the easier and the more proficient it is to complete. Looking at what kind of activities is to be done. Is it needs for information? Is it needing for making appointments or for travel? And then where? Is it going to be more professional, or is it going to be more domestic? Is it going to be for the whole? And then what other things? And then what is clutter? We talked about, reducing the clutter. Well, to kind of look at clutter really is anything you do not love. It's anything that you can't use. It's anything that's just there. It's anything that needs your attention. It is anything that takes your peace. Clutter can be postponing a decision or an action that, you know, that it wasn't accomplished simply because we just got mixed up and didn't take care of it. It's that messy space that affects how others view our competency. It's that, and then, oh, going backwards. Here, scheduling, of course, is when you do it. And I made this little graphic on here because maybe here's the path that we're taking, but then we may find ourselves here. But as we begin to look at these question marks, where is it easier to find if we're on track or not, or if we're on the right path or not? Is it whenever it's back here, whenever we have an easier tracking schedule to see if we are on point or not? So some organizational tips goes hand in hand with Pareto's 20-80 principle of imbalance. He was an Italian economics back in Italy, and he came up with the realization that of all the land, 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the people. And then based on all of his understandings and so forth, it has just become a principle of life that 20% of our activities produce 80% of our success. And so we need to be really focused in on those initial and those most important 20% activities. And you can think about this in considering the stuff that you own or the clothing that you own, whether, you know, whether, and do we have a tendency, I know it rang true with me, that 80% of the time, what I would choose to wear would be like 20% of the whole amount of things in the closet. And so as we can rid that other clutter, you know, what's the rest of it? If we're just only using a small amount, then the other is becoming clutter and becoming disorganized and non-effective. And then always remembering the story of the hare and the turtle. You know, the hare just zoomed off and sped everything up, but then kind of got lazy. And the hare just kept on that plodding on and on and on. The turtle just put one foot in front of the other. And it's more than hours of stressful catch-up. Consistency is devoting at least 1 hour a day to planning and implementing. And then also practicing the 1-to-4 ratio. Time makers, schedulers show that if we will devote 1 hour to a dedicated planning, it can reduce up to 4 to 10 times the amount of time that it would take to execute what needs to be done. And then always to simplify through elimination. That be realistic about what we can do, be realistic about what we cannot do, and then be honest with what we don't intend to do. You know, in those lists that we looked at last week, sometimes it's what I don't intend to do. I have nothing to do. I think I may have shared this with you before, but my family, I'm very organized. And whenever there was something to be mended, I would put it in a drawer labeled to be outgrown, because, you know, if things just become passé, something you don't intend to do. We need to eliminate all of the weight that we carry by looking at what is truth or what is there. So rather than delaying and denying, let yourself know what your conclusions are. So realizing that the solution is in the system. And we have systems. The way we do one thing is pretty much the way we do everything. And all systems work perfectly for the results that they produce. So if we don't like the results that our system is producing, then it is time to reevaluate and to develop a smoother running system, because then that in the process reduces frustration, it increases our productivity, and it can be easily taught or easily caught by our new workers. And I have here a quote from Coach John Wooten. He would always encourage his players to hurry, but don't rush, because, you know, don't lag, but don't rush either. It's getting in that kind of like the turtle cadence of keep on keeping on. So sometimes in making improvements, we need to become an investigative reporter and to get really honest with ourselves as to looking as to who needs to be involved in this task, who will benefit from our completing this task, what resources are needed for maximum efficiency, what results are anticipated, how stable are our expectations, how much stability is there, what benchmarks point to accomplishment. Does it look like we're on the right path? I saw a thing the other day. It says that if the path doesn't have joy in it, then choose another path. So it's looking at when will our supplies be available? Where can we just get in there and with a fine-tooth comb and begin to eliminate? Where can we eliminate what is fluff, what is activity that is not business, it's not taking care of business? And then how does this complement that? Because sometimes we can become so involved in something that we can't see how that they're going to mesh together and work together. And then always at the end of the day, have an assessment where you review, revise, and reinvigorate. So it's looking at what is the satisfaction level of the things that you accomplished, maybe on a scale of 1 to 5 of, how can you give yourself a pat on the back of being thankful for things accomplished, but then also being honest with the sting of things avoided or the sting of things not done. If we need to be honest with ourselves so that we can always be a person of integrity. And then, was it really that we did not have time, or were we ill prepared? And then rethinking your commitment and your priorities, and do they match? Have I taken on, more than I can take on? And then scheduling the next day, at the end of each day, to schedule what is on task for tomorrow. And at the end of the week, scheduling what is on task for the upcoming week. And then you want to fill in the timed things that are to be at a certain time, and then go ahead and fill in the other top value priorities that can kind of be filled in between the time dedicated schedules. And then realize always, always that rest is a vital factor in success in life. Well, think you can do it? Well, I think you can. And I thank you very much for being here, and many blessings.